So how do you plant blueberries? Well, just like everything else, a year or two before you actually plant, you have to prepare the site. For instance, with blueberries, it's a great idea to plant a nice cover crop, such as rapeweed, to turn this over, and then to plant a slow-growing sod, a perennial species such as your fescues, and this is for the following reasons. When you plant a cover crop and turn it over in the soil, you're going to add valuable organic fertilizer to the soil, which is going to sustainably break down over the many decades you're going to have this blueberry patch. And also, when you plant a nice slow-growing sod species, you're going to reduce weeds in your blueberry patch and the amount of time and effort and labor it takes to keep this weed free. And then you're only going to have to mow a few times a year compared to other types of grasses, okay? And you also have to add sulfur. You have to change the pH. We want it between 4.5 and 5.0 because blueberries, unlike most plants, like the soil to be acidic, okay? And it's a great idea to add the sulfur at those stages where you have the soil turned over, such as when you turn your cover crop over, or before you plant your sod species and you're turning it over, okay? Because sulfur, unlike other fertilizers, doesn't readily go down the soil profile, okay? It tends to stay at the top. That's why you want to really add your sulfur when the soil is exposed and you can mix it in to the bulk of the soil, okay? So now we're in year 2 and we're ready to plant. Okay, and you want to make the planting hole, you want to fill a quarter to half of that up with organic matter to mimic the natural environment that the blueberries grow in, okay? So I take compost and some mulch and I put just a little bit of pine needles in there, okay? And I mix that all together like I've already done, and I rake up the sides here. I break up that hard pan that results when you use a shovel to plant, okay? Break that up, because if you don't, the roots will have a hard time breaking through that and growing through, okay? So now we have this nice planting hole, and we're gonna take this blueberry from the pot and we're gonna mix and break up the roots so that they're growing out in all different directions instead of growing around in a circle, okay? And the best time to actually plant is when the blueberry is dormant, okay? So that would be in the early springtime, okay? But this is the 120th one I planted this year, and I wanted to film it. I'm very excited about it. And you plant them 5 feet apart in rows that are 10 feet apart. And every 5 rows, you keep a row that is 15 feet wide so that the tractor can come through if you ever want to use sprays and broadcast fertilizers over the entire thing, okay? Make sure you press down on that. And then we're gonna add all this mulch and organic matter, okay, around the base of it to help conserve moisture, to provide habitat for earthworms. But also, when we use organic matter such as pine needles, okay, what's gonna happen is this will naturally acidify the soil, because pine trees themselves have a hard time taking up calcium from the soil, so the needles are gonna be low in calcium. And remember, calcium is what is in limestone, and that neutralizes soil acidity. But the organic matter, anytime organic matter, when the microorganisms convert the organic forms of nitrogen and ammonium, NH4 positive, and convert it to the inorganic form that the plant can now take up as a nutrient, which is NO3 negative nitrate, it's going to release 2 units of hydrogen for each unit of ammonium that is oxidized to nitrate, okay? And remember that. It's very important. And organic matter, when it's added to the soil, also forms bonds with calcium and magnesium, thus facilitating their loss through leaching, okay? When it rains, when water moves through, that, okay, like I said, the calcium and magnesium that is now attached to the organic matter is then going to be washed away in the rain. So now, look at this beautiful blueberry plant. Like I said, we planted them 5 feet apart. And what I'm gonna go through here, right, after a little while, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna put an herbicide down. And I'm gonna kill all this sod that is growing here. And then I'm gonna really add my mulch and my pine needles 4 to 5 inches deep along the entire rows where I have these blueberries. Now, they say when you plant your blueberry, you should remove about 50% of it if you want to help reduce the shock of being planted in the ground, okay, to help the blueberry, like, you know, get used to its new life here in the soil. Now, I and other people I know have never done that, and they seem to not have any problems, but they also say you should remove the fruit the first year to make it easier on the plant.